Okay, great. Let's bring up our panel then. I see Vanessa, I see Alan, I see Hanson. Yeah, you guys coming up? And don't give our panel any like warm welcome or anything like that. Guys, just have a seat. I don't know, is this connected? Is that why this is up here? I'm not even sure. So let me just get this out of the way. Oh, let me get this out of the way. You guys can sit here and here.
Are you sitting?
No, I'm not sitting, but thank you. Okay, so you guys are gonna, if you'll sit here, then that way you can share this mic just in case this one's not 100% working. Let's see here. All right. Test, 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 test. Yeah, I'm not sure this one's working. All right, so we're going to share this mic right here. So panel, number one, thank you guys, panel. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Number one, I would love for you guys to share with the rest of the folks that are here a little bit about your history in investing and a little bit about maybe some of the projects that you've done, just so they can kind of get an idea of who you are and why they should listen to you tonight. So Vanessa, do you mind if we start with you?
Sure. Hi, my name's Vanessa. Is this a good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, closer if you don't mind.
Closer?
Yes.
Is this better? My partner and I, he's actually in the back, Mike, we do building. So we're building contractors. And I have about 30 years of experience and specialize in the mid to high end range of finish out and can basically do anything from a new build to tearing down walls, building new walls, additions, taking off a roof and putting on a second story. That's kind of what we can handle. Just recently we did a remodel on South Austin, off of South Lamar and Oltorf, and walked in and the configuration was very weird and it was very closed off and needed to be opened up and changed and needed a half bath downstairs and just needed a full redone. So we kind of basically cleared out the whole downstairs, put in a master suite, a new bathroom, new walls, and finished it out, mid-high end range. And we've actually had an opportunity to talk to the buyers, and they said that in that price range, $650 to $700, that what they were finding were subpar in the finish out. And in order to find the quality of the work that they saw, they had to go to the $1 million plus range. So that was just encouraging and nice to hear, and that's just a little bit of idea of what we do.
And you and I are working on a project together right now too.
Yes, sorry. So yes,
yeah.
in East Austin as well, 78721 area. And kind of a service that we provide is that it's kind of a stress-free for the client. You make some decisions and then we kind of take it and get it done. And it's not the kind of contractor that you have to always be checking up on to see if they're actually working or getting anything done. And that's just kind of one of the things that we can bring to the table. We love to partner on projects so that you can essentially walk away from the project and be as involved or uninvolved as you like to be.
Awesome.
So that's
Thank you for sharing.
what we do.
Hanson, tell us a little bit about your experience investing.
Sure. So I started in general in real estate about 14 years ago, but for a little while there, I was just acquiring apartment buildings, which there's not as many here as there are some of the older cities. So I did up in Pittsburgh, but then I came back to Austin. Now I'm focused on single family, and I'd say my bread and butter is more of your wholesales, flips, which could be a bigger remodel or just cosmetic. Buy and hold is always my main goal, because the more of those you can get, the longer you can go with that, then you can go eventually do more passive income. So that's always my top goal, but a lot of things you can't just hold on to forever. And then when it makes sense, I'll do new builds, and
we're working on a project now, yeah.
New build down in 7704 where it got torn down today, actually, an old, just disgusting house on a big lot that we tore down, and we're building a front house and then a smaller back house. So that's pretty much what I do.
Alan?
My name's Alan Seschker. I'm an attorney. Been doing this for more than 25 years. I've kind of lost count now. And what I do is we close the real estate transactions for the investors. Started out in construction law, and that progressed into real estate, and then that progressed to us opening a closing office. So we're a title office, and we close the very, very simple deals that Chanel and some of her people come to us with. Sometimes they're very, very complex. A, B, B, C, transactional funding, pass-through funding, flips, and then sometimes they're just cash deals. We like them all. It's fun.
In fact, you closed both the houses that we're working on with these folks as well. So, guys, I want to kind of get an idea, and Alan, I'm going to start with you since you have the mic. The general question is, what kind of deals are you guys seeing more of lately? What kind of deals are you doing more of lately? And Alan, as an attorney, what kind of deals are you seeing a lot of the investors who are closing with you looking at bringing you? I kind of know your answer, but I'll let you tell them.
All right, good deal. As always. The majority of the closings that we see on the investor side are taking over properties subject to, taking over a mortgage. And it's, when I look at 40, 50 deals a month, and looking at the leveraging of dollars is phenomenal. When you can come in and take over a mortgage, bring it current for $6,000 or $7,000, give the seller $2,000 or $3,000, and you're in a $180,000 property for less than $10,000. That's powerful.
Did you guys get that? Did you guys get that? Buying subject to the existing mortgage. So like on a $300,000 house, for example, Alan sees people, instead of getting hard money, instead of bringing their own money, he just sees them reinstating the seller's existing loan for a few $1,000s and then paying closing costs to be able to take over these properties with very little capital invested.
And if it's possible to do that, I can't emphasize how powerful that leveraging is. I've got a client says he had $1 million. He wants to buy about 10 properties around $200,000 a piece. I said, well, let's do these mortgage wraps, and explain it to him, and he can literally do a factor of 20 or 30 times what he was thinking about doing. So that's what we mainly see. I would say at least 50% of the investor closings are mortgage wraps, and then the others are a smattering of wholesale deals, flips, fix and flips, and things of that nature.
What percentage of your properties that you're closing are on the foreclosure list for the next month?
Too many. It's not a real high percentage of our closings. I would say we have 25% are in jeopardy of foreclosure for the entire month. I think our office is atypical. I think an average office is going to be about 1 or 2 or 3% of their closings, but I think that's a factor of us representing the investor so much.
So guys, what that means is a lot of the title companies in town are mostly dealing with the traditional closing, right? Where a traditional seller who's not in trouble, meaning not facing foreclosure, with a traditional buyer who's bringing either cash or a conventional type loan. As a real estate investor, that's a great service to have, but that's not going to help you do the deals that you are going to be doing, the deals that you're going to be seeing. Most of the deals that you're going to be doing as an investor are going to be with motivated sellers, and most of those deals are going to be either on the foreclosure list for the next month or pending foreclosure in the next couple of months. So having an investor-friendly title company who can help you get through those sometimes very complex, sometimes very difficult deals is going to be the difference between you getting the ball to the 5-yard line and being done, right, game over, versus you getting it over the goal line and actually making some money. So very important person to have on your power team. So thank you for sharing that. Hanson, tell us about the types of deals that you're doing right now, both from a purchase strategy standpoint as well as from an exit strategy standpoint.
One of the recent ones that we did with Alan's office was an interesting combination of all those. So we bought one that he was about to get foreclosed on. If we didn't buy it the day we bought it, the next day he was going to go into foreclosure. And so he wasn't on the foreclosure list, but really, really close. So first we bought it subject to his mortgage, and then we wholesaled it to someone else where we did that dual closing where you have an A-B side of the transaction where you buy it, then an hour later we closed with the buyer, the final buyer. And then you also had transactional funding because we needed a bunch of money, like $400 grand for just that hour. And so kind of put together a lot of those things. But I'm seeing a lot of more subject to than I thought I would at this point in Austin, because it seems like if anyone's owned a place for even a couple of years, they have so much equity that why would you really have to do that? But there's still a lot of crazy situations, so we're still seeing a lot of those.
You will always see a lot of those.
Yeah.
Good markets, bad markets. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of cosmetic flips where, you know, someone else doesn't, even if they don't have to sell right then, they don't want to go through the, you know, the cost and the trouble and the, you know, the knowledge you have to really get it to retail, I guess, you know, retail shape. And so they offload it to an investor knowing that they're going to leave a little meat on the bone for the investor to make some money. And they walk away happy and the investor's happy. And I'm seeing more of those than you would think too, where it's, if it were me, I would have made the money myself, but a lot of people just deny it. They don't want to or know how to or have the money to do that, even a cosmetic remodel. So I'm seeing a good number of those too.
Yeah, equity does not equal cash, and at the end of the day, it still takes cash to be able to get a house ready for market. So yeah, good. Thank you for sharing. And then so you're doing both fix and flips and new builds. Are you doing any wholesaling? Are you doing?
We do a good amount of wholesaling, especially when it's one that I'm debating on. Do I want to keep it as a buy and hold long term or not? Sometimes I want the cash, sometimes I do want to buy and hold. And if you find several in a row that are great buy and hold investments, it doesn't mean that you can take them all yourself right away. So a lot of times I'll know a bunch of other investors who want buy and hold investments, and it's like, hey, this is one I would have kept, but I don't need it at the moment. You want it, and it's a real easy wholesale when it's like, you know, it makes sense for them. It's a win-win-win, a win for the seller, win for the long-term buy and hold, and then whatever margin I get, that's a win too. So I do a good amount of wholesales to other investors in that way, because then they still get a hefty discount, which means good cash flow, low risk, because they already have a cash flowing and a lot of equity built in.
Awesome. Vanessa, how about you?
What we find that we do as builders is doing a lot of work with investors. We purchase the properties from wholesalers, and a lot of times we do the work that someone else may have found the property, and then we partner up and do the work with them. And I think a lot of things that we're seeing out there on our builder side of the condition of the properties is, a lot of the plumbing needing to be redone, a lot of the electrical needing to be redone, the sewer system to the street needs to be redone. So all that kind of stuff that you may not, it's a big cost and something you have to really consider when you're looking at doing a remodel or, a flip or an addition or something like that. And that's kind of what we're seeing on our side. And it's good to have some experienced eyes look at to kind of give you an idea in the age of the home of what you're likely to see, and it's those surprises that you don't like to find out later.
Well, and to have a partner in building for, again, identifying those before they get into a project, managing those after they get into a project, and maybe even funding some of the remodel. The holding costs as you're going through a project.
So as an investor partner, we also help fund it. We either carry the cost of the construction. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but I mean, to be honest, you can't foresee everything, and I like to tell our clients that it's like there's going to be a little bit of a surprise somewhere. I'm sure you've got to take out a wall and you'll find something. So if it's rewiring the entire house or having to do all new plumbing, or you find out that the sewer line from the house to the street should get redone, and making those decisions to do that. And just a lot of old houses in Austin that if you're not leveling it, you're going to have a lot of those repairs to expect.
Yeah, so tell us what's been one of the most creative things you've done as a real estate investor to either close a deal, or one of the most creative things that you've done as a real estate investor after you've already closed a deal and are now have some type of a surprise? I can let you think about it. Maybe go to Hanson. I don't know. You tell me.
I can defer for a moment.
Okay. Defer from. I know it's kind of like one you have to think about. So what's one of the most creative things that you've done lately to get a deal closed, Hanson?
Let's see. Well, one of the latest ones we did was tricky because it was a husband and wife that hated each other, but they both had to be involved. So some of the wrangling between trying to keep them separated, but sometimes having to have them together, and then the closing, like not trying to have them both in hands off at the same time. Just that got pretty interesting. They weren't full enemies, but it was definitely better when it wasn't together at the same time. So, and having to have them both on board to even do what we're trying to do, which had helped because of the foreclosure thing I was talking about. So they had to do something, but it was still tricky. So that was one of the more interesting ones on the selling side. One of the more interesting ones on the buying side is when I had to go track someone down one time who you couldn't get them in the mail, and there was no way to get in touch with them. Mailing, phone, nothing. And the one time I knocked on the door, I could tell that she usually didn't even answer the door. I was really lucky that she even answered the door. I don't do enough door knocking. It's a great way to get good leads, because when you do find someone, it could be someone who's never talked to anyone, because the only way to get in touch with them is knock on their door. So that was one of the best deals I ever got on an apartment building. But because she lived there, I didn't think she'd be there. Suddenly the owner opens the door to the whole apartment building. So I would say those people you can't find when you're trying to buy a place, that's a good sign that no one else can either. So you got to really go and get creative to talk to them.
Yeah, I know that for me personally, when I get a returned mail from a direct mail campaign, that actually excites me, because I know no one's living there, so I know it's an opportunity to not have to negotiate about with the person who says, well, I really want to stay in my home. Like, that's not an issue anymore if they're already out. And if they're also already out, now I'm going to use my skip trace service to be able to go track them down, where most investors will just say, yeah, no one's living there anymore. I guess it's just a dead lead, when it's really not. It could be one of the hottest ones you have.
Yeah, and I had one like that where the skip tracer didn't even work because there weren't any real good family members, and there was nothing. And so the way that someone finally got it was someone else I know, not even me, that got it. It was a place around the corner from my house. And the way another person in this real estate investors association got that deal is by talking to all the neighbors. And next time that person came, he had already moved out. Next time he came just to pick up some mail, the neighbor was like, by the way, this lady was looking for you. And he called her and bought the house, and she bought the house from him. And I was like, man, I can't believe you got that one. And it was the hardest people to track down. So
we've used She Spies Private Eye to track down people before, and that's when you start opening up your pocketbook, but that's also when you give yourself a lot of opportunity to get deals that other people don't know how to track folks down. Vanessa, you want to share something?
Well, there was one project that almost fell apart, and it was kind of our investor realtor partner that helped make it happen, but we were buying the property, and the seller was buying another property, and he was only moving out if he was going to get this next property. Everyone went to closing, and then to find out that the final house for this guy needed his ex-wife signature, and he hasn't been in contact with her for 40 years and has no idea where she is. So that kind of put things on a hold, and then so it was kind of like, well, he's not moving out if he doesn't have a place to go. So we were able to find another property relatively quickly, and with our connections, actually was a wholesale from another investor that it was a better deal, better condition. It was better all the way around, and then we were able to close within a reasonable amount of time. So that was just the unexpected things that come up that,
How did you end up tracking down the long lost ex-wife?
I don't know that they did.
Okay.
They kind of moved on to someone else.
Okay.
So I don't have a great end of the story for that one, but
right.
just having the good networking helped with finding the the
Yep,
final property.
Awesome, good. Alan, how about you? What's been one of the most creative things you've done to close a deal lately?
So all of them are kind of fun, the problem ones. You know, when you start getting a bunch of heirs, so great-grandma, great-granddad have died, and then their kiddos have died, and the property's still vested in great-grandma and grandpa. We had one that was quite a bit of fun. We only had 21 heirs that we had to coordinate with, and you know, you got that many family members, they're not going to all like each other. So you almost have to play a little game where you get the one that's friendly with the most people, and that's your point of contact. And trying to work through until you get all of those done is fun. The saving the foreclosures is fun. We had one come in on. We knew it was coming on Friday, but we actually got the contract on Monday, opened title on Monday morning, and we're able to close and get the reinstatement off to the mortgage company by Monday night. And so that's fun. And I have nothing to do with that. My team does it all. That doesn't involve me. But those are fun. You know, psychologically, emotionally, you feel that you're getting something accomplished for your client, and really enjoyable.
I have asked for a seller's Porsche in a deal. Don't get too excited. It was more of like an ego thing for me. Like I just wanted to ask for it just to like try it, right? And this was not like a fancy Porsche. Have you guys seen the movie Risky Business? Risky Business, you guys know, yeah? Do you guys remember the Porsche that went into the lake? Yeah? I think this was that Porsche. So, I mean, there was no real value in it other than like, I just wanted to ask for it, right? I just wanted to see if I could get it. I've taken car titles. I have artwork that I have taken that had a certain value to it that I've taken in order to make a deal work. We've done a lot of really interesting stuff just to kind of keep deals going, put deals together, and that's one of the things I love about real estate investing. There's so many different angles you can look at it with, and so many different angles you can throw at to put some of these things together. So never be afraid to ask. I mean, I always kind of say, throw the spaghetti on the wall, see if it sticks. You'll be surprised at what people say. One family, my husband and I asked for their pool table, and the lady was like, "Oh no, that's where I draw the line. That pool table is mine." And it was like, well, it was worth the shot, right? It was a $5,000 pool table, and it was kind of the difference between making it really feel like a good deal for us and not. And I've seen a lot of people pay money, for very expensive washer dryers in order to push a deal through. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, and I know you have too. With Alan can't really know about any of the crazy other stuff that we're asking for and for his office, everything has to be on the HUD, so everyone's compliant. But there are a lot of things that get done that are irregular things, I guess is what I'll say. Alan, give everyone in here your best advice for the new investor. What's your best advice for the new investor?
Well, my advice is to partner. If you're a new investor and you've nosed onto a real good deal, go find the smartest veteran investor and give away half of that. You'll learn how to make a lot more than you're going to make on that if you didn't partner up. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but that's what I actually tell all of my new investor clients. Go find someone who knows everything. It's the same thing I did in law, actually. You come out of law school, you don't know anything. What you do is you go find the smartest attorney at the law firm and then partner up with them. Mm-hmm. So that would be my advice.
I hear a lot of new investors who are in what we call a learning loop, and they're very much left brain, and they think in their mind, I have to know everything before I do anything. And these people, and raise your hand in here if this applies to you. I've been researching this real estate thing for the last year or more. Raise your hand. Keep your hand up. I've been researching this real estate thing for the last 2 years or more. last 3, you guys are on a learning loop, right? You guys are people who feel like I have to know everything before I do anything. And what, I tell people what Alan's trying to say, or what Alan is saying is, you don't have to know everything, you just have to know the people who do, right? There are so many different things to know in real estate, and even for me after investing for 13 years, for you after being an attorney closing these deals for over 25 years, you still go to certain people to say, I need to ask you, get your expertise on this, because you very much master a certain subset, but then you have to know who to go to get all of the rest. So I think that's really good advice. Find people who have done it, find people who have been there. Hanson, your best advice for the new investor?
Mine's kind of 2 parts, but the first part has to do with a lot with partnering. Vast majority of deals I do, I'm partnering for somewhere or another, for some reason or another. Sometimes it's because I find a deal, bring it to other people to kind of make it all happen. Other times someone else finds a deal, they have things they want me to help with, so they bring it to me and we partner on it. But so that's a big part of it. But along with that, I would say don't worry about not doing something just because you can't put all the parts together yourself. Even if you can't put together the funding part yourself, which a lot of people get tripped up on, like, how could I invest in real estate? Investment means money. What if I don't have a lot of money to invest? And the value that different people bring to a deal can be all across the board. Like, if you find a deal, even if it's just through an acquaintance or a friend or whatever, that's a big piece of the value of that deal, and you can just bring that. And your value is locked in from the beginning. You're good to go. You don't have to do anything else, know anything else, no money, no whatever. People can do everything else for you, but just the fact that you track that deal down and open the door to make it happen, you get a big chunk, period. And that's a really good way to get started, because a lot of the other stuff can kind of come later on.
Well, and I think, Hanson, you too, you were just telling me outside with some other investors that, hey, I bought this house, I'm looking for some money to renovate it. So he already bought it. He didn't have the money immediately available to renovate it. And he knows, I'm talking to a group of people that have capital or have access to capital. And within about 3 minutes, he had 3 people say, yeah, no, I'll fund the rest of that, right? So it's not having capital as a constraint and being well networked, right, to be able to ask people and for that magic to be able to happen immediately. And I'll add, just being well networked and continuing the networking. You have to, and I think that's why a lot of you guys are here tonight. It's like a lot of people, when they first start real estate investing, they want to do it as an island. I want to do everything myself. I want to know everything myself. But it's not until you expand your group that you're really able to multiply your efforts. Focus on what you do best and let some of the other people who do other things bring some of those other pieces to the table to kind of fill in the broad strokes that you've painted in order to get it across the finish line. So thank you for sharing that, Hanson. I appreciate it. Vanessa.
My biggest advice right now is don't pay too much for the property.
Yeah.
I keep seeing this. The cost of renovations is the cost of renovations. What you're going to sell at the ARV is the ARV, and the only big variable then is what you purchase the property for. And when you try to cut the cost of the renovations, you're cutting the quality, or you're not doing something that you should do. You should raise that lowered wall, or you should take out the popcorn, or you should, finish that room better, or raise it up the floor to make it all one level. But you can't, because you don't have the room. And so just time and time again we paid too much for this property, so we can't do everything that we want to do for it, and we just hope that it's good enough at the end to get the ARV that they need. So that's...
So what do you call that? What do you call that? What's another word for that?
Desperate.
Desperate? Motivated buyers? Any motivated buyers in the room? Just like to know who to sell something to. I see a lot of new investors become motivated buyers, and they stretch themselves. And I commonly joke, like, anytime that just you guys all promise me this. Anytime you start to say to yourself, or you start to think these words, and you're talking to a seller, let me go and sharpen my pencil. Guys, that is a euphemism for let me fool myself, right? Let me trick my brain, right? So that I can pay more than what I should pay for your property. And you know going into it, you know what that number was. You know what this number was. You know what the ARV was. And now you're trying to sharpen your pencil, which is basically saying, let me just go out and figure out how I'm going to lose money on this deal, right? Or let me figure out how I can make minimum wage on this deal. And I see a lot of new investors, first-time investors who become these motivated buyers who basically say, gosh, I just want to do that first deal. Any of you guys in here kind of like, I just want to get that first deal. I just want to know what that feels like. Once I get that first deal, then I know it's all going to kind of come together. Yes, you are a motivated buyer, right? That's getting you on the path to a motivated buyer, because then you start to sharpen your pencil and make some of these poor investment decisions that Vanessa sees a lot. And guys, as a real estate investor, you make your money on the buy. If you do not buy it right, you are not going to make money on that transaction. There's no, I'll do it myself. Every investor I who's trying to make up for buying it wrong by doing something themselves, the project just takes 2 or 3 times as long, right? Which means even though you're saving money by doing it yourself, you're paying more because you're paying more in holding costs, right? And that's real money. So guys, be sure and just don't try and fool yourself, right? Don't become a motivated buyer. Don't say to yourself, I just want to get that first experience. Yes, that first deal is so incredibly important, but here's what I'll tell you. What you learn on the first deal, you'll learn something completely different on deal number 2, number 3, number 4. And if you are going to have the philosophy of, I want to learn from experience and I want to learn from the streets, experience is the toughest teacher out there, because experience gives you the test first and gives you the lesson after. And there are so many investors who say, well, this is what I learned on this deal and lost money. This is what I learned on this deal and lost money. No, guys, don't think like that. Get the lesson first. Walk hand in hand with other people that have done it. That's one of the things that Alan said. Find someone who has that experience so that you don't make some of these rookie mistakes that a lot of first-time investors make. One of the things, Vanessa, that you said was about the plumbing, right? And this shocks a lot of first-time investors who just don't have that tribal knowledge. And this is why we come here together to share this tribal knowledge. Guys, if you are working on a house in Austin that was built between 1940 and 1975, there's a very high probability that you're going to have to replace the plumbing underneath the slab. You may walk into the house and the toilets may flush fine, but I can guarantee you your buyer's agent, right, the realtor who's going to bring your buyer, is going to ask your buyer to do what kind of a test? A pressure test. Right? And that's when they find, hey, there's a leak in the slab that you never knew about. And how much is that leak in the slab going to cost you to fix? 20 grand, right? $20,000. And could that be the difference between you making money and losing money? Absolutely. And if you already went into a deal very tight because you sharpened your pencil, right? And then put your blinders on and didn't have the help of someone who's been there and done that before and who knows, like, oh, it's in University Hills, yeah, you're probably going to be, and it has a slab problem, yeah, you're going to not just fix the slab, but you're also going to fix the plumbing underneath the slab as soon as you're done. Is that important information? Yes. It's critical, and I say this all the time. Guys, it's only important if you want to make money, right? Only write this down if you want to make money as a real estate investor. But again, one of the reasons why I want to bring up this panel is to share with you some of that tribal knowledge that they have. Guys, I'm going to open it up. It's 9:15. I'm going to open it up. Who has a question for the panel? Who has a question? Yes, ma'am. Loud.
Yes. So my question is, when you're trying to find other investor partners, where do you go about doing that?
When you're trying to find other investor partners, where do you go about doing that? This is where you say, look to your right, look to your, but are you talking about financing? Or are you talking about bringing deals? Or?
Just, what this gentleman was saying, I know you had mentioned earlier that there was a website that
Mhm.
investors? Is that the main source?
I mean, so as part of the Real Estate Investor Association, we have our Yahoo group, which it looks like you joined tonight. So over the past, since 2002, over the past 14 years since this group has been in existence, this group has sent roughly 15,000 messages in between all the other investors that are part of this association. That is a great resource for finding partners, finding deals, finding financing, finding investor-friendly realtors, plumbers, title companies, etc. And then also just kind of being networked and finding the right people who you have a personal mesh with. Would you guys want to add to that, or?
If I could say, like, most of our partners have been just meeting people, just becoming regular to the groups and talking to people, not being shy, and getting to know what they have to offer and what you can offer, and that's building relationships. And we work with people we like, and that makes things go well. So that's what we found.
Another question for the panel. Last question for the panel. Yes.
I want to solicit some private money. How can I do that legally?
Roland's right over here. Everyone say hello. Wave, Roland. Roland Wiederanders, attorney. He will tell you exactly how to raise capital without running afoul of the SEC guidelines. And roughly, don't do this. I'm offering a 15% guaranteed return. I'm looking for 10 investors who want to donate $150,000. Is that roughly what not to do, Roland? Unless I have like all my securities and Reg D and all that other stuff done, right?
Yeah, they can't be accredited investors. No accredited investors.
Right. So what I just said was basically how to get yourself in a lot of trouble. About once a year, Roland does a presentation here to talk about specifically raising large sums of capital, specifically without running afoul of some of the SEC guidelines and doing it right. So I'm sure if there is an adult beverage involved, you could probably talk to Roland a little bit more about this. Any other questions for our panel guys? Yes, sir.
When you do the partnership as a builder, so like how do you share the profit at the end?
I'm sorry, let me repeat the question. When you are partnering with someone as a builder, which is what Vanessa and Mike do together, how do you split the profits?
Well, what we've done in the past is it's 50-50 at the end, and that's, I think every partnership looks a little bit different. We go in. It depends how involved also the partner wants to be. If they're bringing the project, and someone's funding, if they're funding it, then we'll come in and we all agree on a design plan, and then they kind of just sit back and find the next project, and we just take it over from there. So that, we are able to then put our heart and soul into it, and then, able to make decisions quickly, and everything moves quickly and more smoothly. What we've done in the past is 50-50 splits at the end. So, but again, every relationship looks different.
Everything is negotiable,
Yes.
But for me personally, when I partner with someone, I'm usually going at that level. Plus, if I'm providing the financing, I'll charge cost of capital. But for me, and I think for Vanessa and everybody else here, listen, if that deal that you bring me, if splitting it 50-50 with you makes me $50,000, I want you to bring me as many of those as possible. And one of the things Phil and I always say is pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, right? You want to be a big fat pig, right? But you don't want to be such a pig that you don't bring me another deal the next time around. Is that what you guys would kind of add to that? So.